all our and viewers, particularly to all Shepherd's Rod believers. Special greetings to our brethren in Colorado, our brethren in Kansas, Spain, in Africa, to the United Kingdom, and also to our brethren in Australia, and to the rest of the 144,000 living saints, scattered brothers and sisters. This is our episode number 9 on the subject, the chronological order of events. And this time, we would like to focus our attention to the year 2021 and 2020. And we would like to establish firmly that these last 2 years, 2021 and to the 144,000 living saints. And that statement in 1 TG number 41 on page 29, it says, this chapter of Isaiah, and that is, this chapter of Isaiah the prophet is indeed to bring revival and reformation such as has never taken place since us should miss the experience and the blessings that come through this revival and reformation. Those who are listening and viewing this program, not even one of us should fail to be among that great special company, the predicted. I would like to read 1 TG 24, page 19. It says, most important of all, though, the prophet Nahum plainly tells that all these things take place in our day, and that the fall of Assyrian formation are successfully carried by him who published peace. Nahum chapter 1, verse 15. If we form as it recommends, then it is not possible to survive. Remember, brethren, the statement in 56. It says here, so hoping that we have a single eye by which that single eye is focused, this has employed in the scriptures every method known to mankind by which to unfold the wondrous structure of redemption. And we will try our best with the aid of the Spirit that we could be able to gather together as one all the methods, the wondrous structure of the plan of redemption. I one on 1SR Pocket Edition on page 37, saying that the Bible reveals its tremendous truths in diverse ways. Number 1, in numerics. Number 2, in figures. Number 4, in parables. Number 5, in allegories. Number 9, in providences. So in this reading, in 1SR Pocket Edition, page 37, there are 9 verses to unfold or to reveal the wondrous structure to the honest and to the truth seeker according to the voice of inspiration. 14 on page 42. It says, whereas those who seek to know themselves and the truth are filled with knowledge beyond their expectation. We are that people by which we are filled with the knowledge of the Lord beyond our expectation. And number 31 on pages 4 and page 5 is what we need. But that is the knowledge of the Lord. And shall we turn it down now when it is so freely brought to our doors? Just as soon as God's people, so it is that while learning of God and of His wisdom, we are at the same time bringing peace on earth. Plainly then, those who have not this knowledge of the Lord cannot become citizens of His kingdom. That we know what is true through our own personal experience, not through the experience of others. 1TG number 2. Now, brothers and sisters, I would like to 2SR 179. Let's read. It says Matthew 24 verses 46 and 47, saying, the significance of all His goods is the finishing of the gospel, bringing everlasting wrath, a wonderful promise. So Matthew 24, verse number and 11, symbolic code number 12, page 7, it says, verily I say unto you, that He shall make him ruler over all His goods. This verse implies that God has not as yet made His servant ruler over all His goods. But when he proves true by tending to his business of faithfully giving to his household meat in due season until the Lord comes, then over all his goods, that is the promise. Matthew 24, verses 46 and 47 is God's promise. And remember, brethren, the right to have the righteousness. Page 6, it says, God's righteousness, you see, is His integrity, His sure promises, His might to perform. He guarantees His promises. They never is to have His integrity and faithfulness and Him. Never so long we are. To doubt is the greatest offense one can commit. No one can doubt God's promises recorded in the Bible. The shepherd's rod called it, what a wonderful promise. What promise? That God promised that there must be a servant. There must be God's servant by which unto Him. And according to our reading in 2SR 179, the significance of making Him ruler over all His goods is first, the finishing of the gospel will bestow unto Him the complete understanding of the plan of redemption. And because of that, it will bring, they will be the one to usher in the kingdom of Christ. In 2SR 179, saying, note 2SR 179, it says, note that there is a as to whom this faithful servant could be. But that question, pages 5 and 6, let us read. It says, verily, I say unto you, so who is he represented by the pronoun him? The answer is found on page 6. It says, this is speaking of him who faithfully gives meat in due season. We are told in Malachi that before that great and terrible day of the Lord, Elijah is to come. Then when Elijah appears, his message will be present truth. He is to warn, and message will be present truth before the great and dreadful day of the Lord. As much between life and death to God's people, to whom it is delivered today, as Noah's message. Brothers and sisters, that Bitihotep was antitypical Elijah, John the Baptist. And Bitihotep himself declared clearly that in his days, that promise was not yet fulfilled over all his goods. And that is antitypical Elijah, 11 symbolic code, and page 6. Now let me read to you. And the old symbolic code is Asia. Old symbolic code, one symbolic code, number 6, page 10. Revealed the whole truth to any one person. So Bitihotep declared clearly that that promise that God will the word yet indicates that there is an appointed time. 18 on page 22. The phrase as yet implies that after the 1 hour, they will receive their kingdom. So, the phrase as yet indicates that there is a divinely appointed time by which Jesus Christ will fulfill what He promised. And it was predicted beforehand that servant in Matthew 24, verse 46 and 47, according to the voice of inspiration. And as far as, now let us read 2SR 139. 2SR page 139. It says, the Bible is the revelation of creation and redemption in Christ, Creator and Redeemer. So we have creation and redemption, or Genesis to Revelation. The plan of redemption is revealed. It says, therefore, the Sabbath and the sanctuary constitute the truth. See Hebrews chapter 9, verse 10, and Hebrews chapter 4, and bear the whole truth. So if we will be speaking about the whole truth, according to our reading in 2SR, page 139. Far as the plan of redemption is thus concerned, that is revealed through the sanctuary construction and service. 2SR page 187. In the sanctuary construction and service is revealed the plan of salvation. So the plan of salvation, brothers and sisters, must be pointing to from the cross to Christ's mediatorial work in the heavenly sanctuary. So that promise that God gave in Matthew 24, verse 46 and 47, must be pointing to the entire proceedings in the heavenly sanctuary. And now let us read tract number 15. Let us read again tract number 15. The event which they saw was the judgment. The difference between the two scenes is that Daniel judgment to convene, whereas John was led to look into the sanctuary after the judgment had been set up. In fact, John not only saw the judgment in progress, but he saw the whole proceeding from start to finish. So if the book of Revelation is a revelation, therefore, to understand that book is to understand the whole proceedings in the heavenly sanctuary. By which, according to 2SR page 9, that to understand the book of Revelation, page 9. Therefore, to understand that book is to understand the Bible. And the Bible contains the complete formula of the plan of redemption. 1TG number salvation for all humanity. How do I know this? I know it because in the pages of the Bible then lies the complete formula for man's salvation and redemption. And that is why in the illustration book, and that book is none other than the Bible. Let us read tract number 1, page 29 and 30. As which he ate, the book can be none other than the Bible. So, that Ezekiel, the last antitypical Ezekiel, must be God's servant by which the entire formula of the plan of redemption was completely revealed, represented by eating the book, which is the Bible. And it says, and a roll of a book was therein, and he spread it before me. Ezekiel 2 verse 9 and 10. Thy right in besieging the slaughter that servant shall come in a day that he is not aware of, and shall cut him asunder, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrite, him hand and foot, and take him away, and cast him into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Matthew 24, verse 50, verse 50, clearly see that the climactic point of the entire full day of the Lord. And even more particularly pointing to the day of slaughter as is stated in our reading in track number 1, page 29 and page 30. Now, as it revealed into the wondrous structure of plan of redemption revealed by God into 9 different methods, as enumerated on page 37. Why 9? I remember, brothers and sisters, in 2SR, let me read to you. Let's read. 2SR, page 25. 2SR, page 25, it says, at this point, we draw the reader's attention to the chart on page 22. So, the chart on page 22, we know that it is pointing to the 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. Now, let us read. Attention to the chart on page 22. Take notice of the infinite wisdom used to devise the picture of the great sacrifice, the cross, the center of attraction. I would like to read that statement in 2SR on page 142. 2SR page 142, it says, the symbol reveals that God has had only one church, truth, in the last generation. There must be only one church by which the truth, the present truth, is deposited by God into that church. The symbol reveals that God has had only one, only center of attraction. And the only center of attraction is the cross of Christ. That is that he purposed it to know not anything except the cross. The cross is the center of attraction. So all our read of the infinite wisdom used to devise the picture of the great sacrifice, the cross, the great sacrifice for human beings, which is an if. Note first that the hand on the clock, 3 times 9. Of course, that is 27. 6 times 12. Of course, that is 72. Then, 27. 27 plus 72. That is 99. 9 methods. 1SR Pocket Edition, page 37. Why 99? Because 9 of them are the particular object in view. Go back again. 1SR Pocket Edition, page 37. What is the particular object in view? The prophecy by symbols. The particular object in view. The prophecy by figures. By visions, types, and providences. 9 of them are the particular object in view. So let us, what enumeration is that in 1SR Pocket Edition? Number, figures 3, then parables, enumeration number 4. Enumeration number 4. So let us focus first to enumeration number 4, parables. And specifically, to the parable of Jesus Christ in Matthew 20. Of Jesus Christ in Matthew chapter 20. Now, let us read 2SR. 2SR page 237. Reason why 3 hours to a movement. I will no longer read the hours to a movement. Then it says, the reason he has followed that particular history by periods. I would like to read again, 2SR 237. This is the principal reason why is scheduled. The principal reason why Jesus Christ followed or employed that particular rule is to present the exact time of her history by periods. Now the question is that, what church, brothers and sisters, what church by which you could be able to ascertain clearly the exact time? Since we are studying Matthew 20, that is Jewish church, is it the second call, the apostolic church? Is it the third call, the Millerite movement, 7-hour church, the last and the 5th call? Which of the 5 churches by which Jesus Christ will present to that church the exact time of her history by periods? Now let us read. Only 2 kinds of serials brought to view. It is concerning Revelation 6 verse 6, which is closely connected to the parable in Matthew 20. Now, I would like to read first that statement in 2SR. So let us read the statement given by the shepherd's rod. So it says here, concerning the parable, the symbols in Revelation 6 verse 6. Now let us read. 2SR 225 and 226. Truth that you can be able to escape 153. It says 2SR 153. Only by a prophetic knowledge of the truth we escape the wily snares of the devil. So that is only by the knowledge of the, or in other words, at the time that you need to place your entire confidence on that word, thus saith the Lord. Now let us read 2SR 225. It says here, 2SR page 200. A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. We shall eat householder, and Jesus allegorically looked forward to John's vision. Now, study. Revelation 6 verse 6 is a symbolical prophecy. The allegorical, according to this reading. And the shepherd's rod, in reality, he is still looking forward to the time when 6 AD recorded on Revelation 6 verse 6, by which at the time, to the time when the parable he authored to the disciples in Matthew 20 verse 1 to 8. Then it says 226. So it must be that such explanation needs to perfectly fits the parable and the vision. What vision? The vision of John in Revelation 6 is derived therefrom. Then only must we accept it as truth. So how many things mentioned here? First, and it must be in harmony with God's book, the Bible, and with God's law. And there must be also present truth lesson to be derived therefrom. So at least there must be 5 that had been mentioned here in 226. The statement, it says, why only 2 kinds of cereals brought to view? Therefore, this parable is also connected to the subject, the harvest. Because in the subject, the harvest, there's, what is the difference between grains and cereals? Of course, cereals that is already threshed. Then that is the time that it can be called cereals. So here in track number 3, let me read to you. Track number 3. So also mention 2 grains. Track number 3, page 76. So there are only 3 mentioned here. 3 rituals. So that is the beginning of the first harvest. What? The ceremony of the weekend. The ceremony of the wave loaves at the close of the first harvest. Therefore, the ceremony of the wave loaves indicates that the first third, the Feast of Tabernacles, at the close of the second harvest. Therefore, and the celebration of the Feast of Tabernacles indicates that the second harvest is close and finished. There are three literal sacraments, accordingly foreshadow to soul harvest with wave sheep and wave loaves. Although that is not our subject and trying to connect one subject to the other, to harmonize the entire Bible, brothers and sisters. So to repeat again, the barley and the wheat. And the commencement of the wave sheep had been offered into the presence of the Lord. Now, let us go back let us read. Why only two kinds of cereals brought to view? Why? Why is it that there are only two kinds of cereals brought to view? Why not 5? But I would like to ask the question, why is instead by saying, why not 7? Instead of saying also in connection in Ezekiel chapter 4. Brothers and sisters, grains. There are 6 grains in Ezekiel chapter 4. We need to familiarize Ezekiel chapter 4 because this subject is also closely connected to Ezekiel chapter 4. 1 SR page 100. So this is the state. Cake. Barley. Cake. There is no record in Ezekiel 4 with cake, but barley cake. It as barley cakes, verse 12. Why is it that the title? Now let us read first the Bible. Ezekiel chapter 4 on verse 12. Ezekiel chapter given by the Bible. And thou shalt eat it out of men in their sight. Ezekiel 4 verse 12. Now, let us focus only to the divine command. Thou shalt, so let us read 1 SR 122. It says, the Lord told Ezekiel, thou shalt eat it as barley cakes. Ezekiel 4 verse 12. Why the wheat, the beans, the lentils, millet, and spelt? Let us count. Wheat, number 1. Second, beans. Second, lentils. First, wheat. Then second, beans. Third, lentils. Fourth, millet. And fifth, spelt. There are only 5 grains. I would like to repeat again. First, wheat. Second, beans. Third, lentils. Fourth, millet. And fifth, spelt. There are 5 grains by which the divine command by God to the prophet turn it into the wheat must be turned into barley cake. The beans must be turned into barley cake. The lentils must be turned into barley cake. The millet must be turned into barley cake. And the spelt must be according to this reading. Now, brothers and sisters, number 5 is the number of distinctions in Matthew 20, as well as the 5 stones in David's bag. Statement in track number 8. Here in track number 8, on page 59, it says, track stones in David's bag, with one of which he slew Goliath, type smite the beast and his image. And it says, the nations, in the form of a message that he shall smite the nations. Then obviously, the 5 smooth stones represent 5 messages, the last of which then that is the 11th hour message. Because the 5 messages mentioned here is in the parable of Matthew 20, as if we will continue on the next paragraph, right? Now, that kill Goliath, that smite Goliath, that message is the message which is to wound the beast. And then destroy his image, except the leopard-like beast. And the image is the scarlet colored beast. Now, I would like to read one SR Packet edition on page 80. It says, since the grains are figurative of spiritual food, doctrines, then the one vessel into which they are originally put. So the one vessel represent the Bible. In track number 8, page 59, the Bible represent the shepherd's bag. The one vessel represent the Bible. Remember, it is the Bible that had been given by God to Ezekiel to aid that book, which is the Bible. So, that is very plain. Now, to connect our subject, all of those mentioned by the shepherd's rod. Now, I would like to read to you track number 3, 1934 edition, on page 1934 edition, on page 69, it says, the parable in the 20th chapter of Matthew explains that the Bible contains in the morning, second, the 3rd hour, then the 6th hour, and the 9th, and all the time messages in the Bible from the day it began to be written to the close of provision, to the close of provisionary time. That is, when these messages are as saving any after that. Therefore, the numerical value of the Bible is 5. So that is very plain. Track number 3, 1934 edition. Here's another statement. And it is called the 3rd edition. Track number 3. And it is entitled, Christ and the Bible. Christ in both of his forms that John alluded in his declaration. That which was from the beginning, which we have looked upon, and our hands have handled of the word of life. So, what a wonderful statement saying, handle the word of life. I would like to emphasize that statement, brethren. Handle the word of life. Handle the word of life. I think it is only a blasphemy. And not blasphemy, but as well as that is hypocrisy. Look at the Seventh-day Adventist Church. They were sighing and crying to the Sunday keepers. But the question is that, are they holding the word of life? I would like to read 1 SR, page 31. It says, speaking of the 144,000, volume 5, pages 210 and 11, or 210 to 211, says, these sighing, crying ones had been holding forth the words of life, a message. Brothers and sisters, so the sighing and crying ones, the apostles. Now let us read again. In the 3rd edition, it says, and our hands have, chapter 1, verse 1, and the word was made flesh, and he further declares, and dwelt among us, and of the Father, full of grace and truth. John chapter 1, verse 14. Put it still more specifically, the Bible is Christ in the form of words, and Christ is the Bible in the form of men. Jesus Christ is the Bible of a message. But at the visitation of Jesus Christ, both of them are in existence. The Bible in a form of a message, and Jesus Christ is the reason why P.T. Hodder says in tract number 1, page 5, that of all fulfillment of the vision of Ezekiel, brothers and sisters, by which that is very plain. And I would like to read first here in 1 TG number 8. 1 TG number 8 page. Formation. This great change. There must be great change, brothers and sisters. And the question is, who is to bring this revival and reformation? This great change. What is that? I can elaborate that great change with many descriptions. But at this time, I would like only to focus. When would be this great change will be fulfilled? When would be this great revival and reformation? The branch, he is the one to bring this great revival and reformation. Such great revival and reformation will never begin, will never commence, not until. It says, and according to Isaiah 11 verse 1 to 5, the branch is the Lord. Now, I would like to go back to SR 234. Why is it that we will read to SR 234? To find to His church the exact time of her history. But therefore, that church has a complete vision of her history by period. Now, let us read to SR 234. It says, why only 2 kinds of cereals brought to view? Why not 5? Although we will not focus at this time concerning and clear the lesson. But the chief reason for only 2 is to draw attention to the first and last calls. To draw our says, because reference is made of but 2 Israels, namely Israel after the flesh, the descendants of Abraham, and Israel after the Spirit, the 100 at the 11th hour. For the truth of the parable has never been understood by any other company. Of course, the company mentioned there is the company in the parable of Matthew 20. There are only 5 companies. The first company is the Millerites movement. The fourth is the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And the last is the 11th hour church. And according to the Shepherd's Rod in 2SR 234, whatever the particular object in view, it was never been understood by any other company. Therefore, since B.T. Hotep died, since he could not be a part of that 144,000 living saints, the particular object in view in the parable in Matthew 20 was not bestowed by God to B.T. Hotep. But we can rest assured that whatever information, whatever message concerning the particular object in view of the parable of the truth in the parable in Matthew 20, it was already recorded in the Shepherd's Rod, but not yet understood by B.T. Hotep. And I do fully believe that what it means in page. Let's read the statement given by the Shepherd's Rod. Here, in track number 6, by B.T. Hotep says that the page 62, it says, the 2 sheep and the young calf. So in the ensuing study of Zechariah chapter 1, we are compelled just as we want to preserve the milk. Track number 6, page 70, to butter and honey. Brothers and sisters. So, the word preserve, it is already in the Shepherd's Rod. But it was preserved because it is intended to the saints who will no longer to taste death. So whatever the truth concerning the parable in Matthew 20, except the 144,000 living saints, and I do fully believe that that is also, says, the song was sung in heaven by heavenly beings before the throne and before the progress. Although we cannot elaborate all at this time, but the judgment mentioned here was in progress. Note that the 144,000 did not sing. They alone understood the heavenly truth in that particular time. What particular time? By which they alone understood that heavenly truth. When the judgment for the living is in progress. Only the 144,000 or only the saints that will no longer to taste death understood that heavenly truth. What heavenly truth? It is concerning Christ's mediatorial work in the heavenly sanctuary, because the song was sung in heaven, indicating that whatever the significance of that song, it is in they alone understood the heavenly truth in that particular time and their position in connection with the message. In our other episode that is pertaining to our great duty. You remember 2SR 171, it says, therefore they have a great duty to perform upon the earth in connection with the judgment. The judgment mentioned there is the blotting out of names. The end. And that is the reason that the last two angels, according to 2 Symbolical 12:6, are messages of prayers. And that too is categorized by the Shepherd's Rod as prayer of the saints and prayer for the saints. That the true people of God, they are not praying for themselves only. 1 TG 34, page 11. It says here, this verse shows that while the pronouncement of woe, verse 1, is being made, at the same time, God's truth-seeking people. If you are seeking truth, you are not derogatory remarks, brothers and sisters, ruining the reputation of God's messenger. Because what you are after is the truth and is for ourselves, but not for ourselves alone, but for brethren also. Given by God such understanding concerning the proceedings in the heavenly sanctuary, the blotting out of names, the last and the final day of atonement, this coming day of atonement. And so we have a great duty to perform. We need to pray for them, that through our prayers, their names will not be. Honestly, pray for them. Brothers and sisters, that is our great duty to perform. The same with the statement in 1 TG number 48. It says, page 22, the remnant are those who survive the judgment in the house of God. This good tidings in their midst with singing, gladness, and praise, saying, O Lord, this truth is now the very present truth, and it is to be proclaimed and heeded, to work and pray. Statement in 12 Symbolic Code number 3, page 12. It says, people, not the heathen, but God is to rule over His people. Nevertheless, in order to obtain this blessing, it will require the most, and to repeat again, brothers and sisters, the same with Daniel. Daniel is praying for his people. And read this reading in 2 SR 102. It says, and no man could learn that song. 2 SR 102. And no man could learn that song. Or in other words, you completely understand the proceedings in the heavenly sanctuary. The strongest proof is that you are praying for all of your brethren. That is the strongest proof that cannot be gainsaid. It will be revealed in your life. And no man could learn that song. Experience only can tell the joy in one's heart. Everlasting life without tasting death. Merged into eternity's ceaseless ages. A life that measures with the life of God. 2SR page 102. Subject, brothers and sisters, concerning the parable in Matthew 20, by which the plan of redemption was revealed unto them. In reality, they will never discuss the subject concerning the headquarters. The only subject that they will discuss is the cross of Christ. Their attention will be attracted to that center, the theme of salvation, the cross. Brothers and sisters, and the great controversy, he says, the intercession of Christ in man's behalf in the sanctuary above is as essential to the plan of salvation as was his death upon the cross. Must be on the first advent of Jesus Christ. They have no church building. Brothers and sisters, would you think that event is not typological? That is called the typical house of David. Organized the church. The simple question is that, did Jesus Christ establish headquarters? Do they have? Now, I would like to go back again to the reading here in the Great Controversy, page 489. The intercession of Christ in man's behalf in the sanctuary above is as essential to the plan of salvation as was his death upon the cross. You can read the entire paragraph because we already read that several times. So he lived within 33 years on this earth at his first advent. 66 books. 66 divided by 2 equals 33. Half of the Bible. The plan of redemption, therefore, is revealed. Half of them, brothers and sisters, is revealed through the life of Christ. While Jesus Christ was still on this earth. Because Jesus Christ is the Bible in the form of man. But the Bible, it is Jesus Christ in the form of words. According to the Shepherd's Rod. Now, I would like to read track number 5. Let us focus our attention to track number 5. Track number 5 on page 70. So let's read the statement. It says, consequently, I would like to begin the statement. It is concerning Revelation 9 verse 11. Genuine Christians, genuine Christians as subjects of the kingdom of Christ, over them in Old Testament time. 1 Kings chapter 10 verse 1 to 4. Consequently, the Old Testament scriptures, being originally written in the Hebrew tongue, give him the name Abaddon, whereas the New Testament scriptures, and this is the portion by which apology, but in the writings written by the so-called prophet, while The Shepherd's Rod very plain that the New Testament is written in the Greek. And then it says, in the blessing light of this symbol, intensifying the illumination from the whole series of symbols of which it is an integral part, and which no human mind could either have devised or thus rightly interpreted, Christ is clearly seen to be King of His people in both the Old and the New Testament periods. An author of the Scripture in human form, his Hebrew name, Abaddon, is also the name of the Old Testament Scriptures, and his Greek name, Apollyon, is also the name of the New Testament Scriptures. According to this reading. Now, I would like to read page 72 in track number 5. It says, He is a Savior, while to those who refuse to have Him rule over Jesus Christ as our King is to submit ourselves to Him appointed by Jesus Christ to reign in His stead. By which, according to track number 8, page 71, He is the antitypical David, the simple means. And we read several times, brethren, in the Old Symbolic Code, that those who will refuse to submit themselves for Symbolic Code, number 10 to 12, page 7. Therefore, because servants saying, but those mine enemies, which would not that I should reign over them, bring hither, and slay them before me. Luke 19, verse 27. The parable makes it clear that through some man, Jesus is to reign before His appearing, and that those who refuse to submit themselves to the one whom Jesus has chosen to 7. So here it says in track number 5, page 72, to those who refuse to have Him rule over them, Luke 19:14, He is a destroyer. Hence, accordingly, the courses or judgments of the Bible, and who as a result do not have the seal, these solemn facts gravely admonish us not to have two results, death or life. Track number, the only way that you can recognize to reign in His stead must be that servant by which the entire Bible was revealed unto Him, which is the complete plan of redemption. Many passages given by the Shepherd's Rod. Now let us go back to our subject. I would like to read 2 SR 225. 2 SR page 225. It says here, brethren, therefore, the connection with the church, 2 SR 225, must extend over a period of world history in connection with the church, to which He hired laborers on 5 different occasions. And it says, 5 different occasions. Now, for example, I would like to read to you 2 SR 200, 2 SR page 216. It says, in observance of the Passover, the Lord commanded Israel to celebrate that occasion 7 days. So the word occasion is applied to the holy feast. There are 5 different occasions according to 2SR 225. Now let us enumerate one by one the 5 different occasions in Matthew 20. 2SR page 234. 2SR page 234. It says, 2SR page 234. It says, now the question, why the voice lay for a penny last will be answered. Humanly speaking, it should have been the reverse. For by the wheat is represented early in the morning, Israel going out of Egypt. When was that? That Passover feast. That is during the Passover week. So that is the first occasion in the 5 distinct calls, brothers and sisters. Israel to celebrate that occasion 7 days. Surely no one would say that God commanded His people to commemorate that event 7 days with no object in view, as Israel, after the flesh, going into Egypt, days during the Passover week. How about the second call, the Apostolic Church? That is Pentecost. Because Jesus Christ was crucified on the 3rd hour. And the apostles received the Pentecost on the 3rd hour. So it is consecutive order. The first call is Passover. The second call is, that is Pentecost. Of course, relating to our subject to the 6th trumpet. That before the high priest shall enter to the most holy place, there must be sounding of the trumpet, and that is the midnight cry. And the Seventh-day Adventist Church had been called on the Day of Atonement. Now let us read 1 SR. 1 SR page 74. It says, as the prophetic period ended in 1844, the most holy place in the heavenly sanctuary was opened, into which Christ entered. Fortune time for a call from heaven done at the end of the great prophetic period. The day of and are practically the only people who believe in the 2,300 days. Therefore, the remaining feast is the Feast of Tabernacles. Because there are only 5 feasts. The first occasion is Passover, then Pentecost, then Feast of the Trumpets, and then Day of Atonement, then Feast of Tabernacles. Now, brothers and sisters, I would like to read White House Recruiter to understand the exact time of our history by period. We believe that we are now in the 11th hour. But let us distinctly separate the first, that statement given by the statement in page 17 on White House Recruiter. It says, having thus by the first call for servants solidly established the time in which the parabolical go to work called, because maybe someone will ask, Are we now in the 11th hour? But is it pointing to the call period or is it pointing to the work period? And the work period. Of course, we need to start first to the call per 1,000, standing idol. Brothers and sisters, they were not in the ministry. Now, I would like to read this reading, Kruter, page 13. It says, how can we know for a certainty in which hour we find ourselves? It says, we can know only by establishing the time in which the last parabolic hour expires. Now, I would like to read again. It says, how can we know for a certainty in which hour we find ourselves? So, it is very important that we are very certain, brothers and sisters, that the hour, what hour? The same with the statement in 2SR 237. Why Jesus Christ followed that particular rule, exact time by history or by periods, their history. So that statement in 11 Symbolic Code number 6, page 19 is, in reality, God has given us accurate and reliable blueprint in His 11th hour to be a part of this special company, brothers and sisters. Now, I would like to read again the statement. White House Recruiter, page 13. How can we know for a certainty in which hour? We can know only by establishing the time in which the last parabolic firmly. When does the 11th hour expires? Maybe we could not be able to finish now, but do not forget that, because we will continue that further. On page 15. The truth is now become clear. To 2 equal parts of 12 symbolical hours each, the period before the Bible, the night, and the period during the Bible, the day. Are there not 12 hours in the day? If any man walk during the day, he stumbleth not. What is the statement? God divided the time of salvation into 2 equal parts. Now, it was not revealed by God to Bethehotep, the particular object in view. The only thing that was revealed by God to Bethehotep is the groundwork. Let us study first the groundwork. Because the groundwork is the picture of the particular object in view, which is also we called it the type. The type themselves are not the true object, but it picture with unmistakable evidence. What is the night in the groundwork? That is the period before the Bible. Now let us read the great controversy. Page 5, introduction. It says, the great controversy, no written revelation. So, 2,500 years, there was backward from creation. 2,500 years. There was no written revelation. If you could be able to project track number 15, page 39, that horse, and there is 4,000 BC at the bottom of the horse. And I'm wondering why when I posted 4,000 BC, many Davidians say in the shepherd's rod. But in track number 14, page 39, but it's track number 14, page 39. Naturally, the first seal, the seal with which the judgment opens, must contain the things at the very inception of the human race. Logically then, the white horse, ruler, rider, who at first had no goal but to subdue the earth and to fill it with eternal week, that Adam was created by God, and Bitihotep placed 4,000 BC. 4,000 BC. We have 4,000 BC. 2,500 years, there was no written revelation. According to the great controversy. And it is represented by night. And the period of the Bible is, of course, up to 180. That is the period. How many years? 1,600 years. Because 1,500 plus 100 equals 1,600. And 1,600 years is not the time when the Bible was written. This is, for example, this is the daylight. So, the night is longer and the daylight is shorter. And I think autumn to winter, that is the time by which the night is longer and the daylight is short. Equal parts. But the absolute fact is that the first writer of the Bible is Moses at the age of 66. And that is the reason why Bitihotep says, the Bible is Moses. Let us read 1 SR. Age of 66. It says here in SR 248. And the first book of the Bible is Genesis. Right? Brothers and sisters. And all of us knew that number 50 represent Jubilee. Number 50. Ponder deeply, brothers and sisters. How many years from 1500 AD? 1500 plus 31 equals 1531. So from the time when the Bible began to exist, although in 1500 AD, only the Genesis had been written. In 1505 BC, and it was, the book of Genesis was finished on 1500 BC. So, there are 4 years to write the book of Genesis. And the entire books from 96 AD to 100 AD. Also, 4 years. The first book had been written within 4 years. The last writer, Revelation. And in 98 AD to 100 AD, that is the time that in Ephesus, John the Beloved wrote John, 1 John, 2 John, and the 3 John. Epistle was written in Ephesus from 98 AD to 100 AD. But all in all, Bible, he wrote the first book, Genesis, within 4 years. And do not think that that is just an accident, brothers and sisters. That from the time when the book of Genesis was completely written in 1500 BC, 1500 BC, to the time when Jesus Christ had been crucified, there are 1,531 years, which is pointing also of the 7 seals. And the book was written, the Bible, century. So 1531 AD. Now I would like to read that reading and we will continue. Let us read. On track number 15 on this is the statement given by the shepherd's rod. Track number 15 was given unto them to kill with a sword, with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. Is easily this part gives 1,500 years, the fourth part. In the end of which time, the power was to wane this fourth part of the earth, therefore began at that time, and ended with the Augsburg Confession in 1530, exactly 1,500 years after the resurrection of Christ, waned. It is a deep subject, brothers and sisters. Track 15, 16, 60, and 61, but we will prove to you that all of them points to the year 2000 and the spur prophecy in the light of the shepherd's rod. So we will continue the subject, brothers and sisters, to repeat again. The entire plan of redemption, chosen mediums given by God. But we already read in 2SR 25, by which it says 3 times 9 equals 27, then 6 times 12 equals 72, then 27 plus 72 equals 99. Let us look at the 99. 9 of them are groundwork, and 9 of them are the particular object in view. So in the night time, the one, look at here, brothers and sisters, that is Noah. The Seventh-day Adventist Church. So the other 9 and the other 9. And if you will reverse, because in the judgment of the living, it is reverse order, it will become 66. May the good Lord bless you and have